I'm pretty sure I heard one of the bandmates, a musician, say, "More treble." What are you talking about? That's not a thing. Is it like more treble?
So you're saying it's all about the bass, no treble?
Hello and welcome to Is This Bad? A show where we rewatch movies that we did not love and with some distance test our priors to decide once and for all, is this bad? I'm joined by my bearded Ebert, Jason Doyle.
Hello.
Thank you for bowing. Very official. And producing the show, she's a Puritan in public, a pervert in private, Rachel Doyle.
Oh, why do you think I'm not like that in public?
Yeah, no, I know that doesn't really work for you. I did think it was funny because normally I'll introduce you with a quote from the movie, but I was like, I could have introduced you with that like at any point in the show's history. It's
true.
Just been waiting for this film to come across. That's of course Brian May, the guitar player in Queen, discussing Americans. They're Puritans in public and perverts in private.
Oh yeah.
And if you're wondering, Brian May, isn't he the guitar player for Queen? Yeah, because today we're discussing 2018's Bohemian Rhapsody, a movie that, I can't believe I'm saying this, has made $910 million. This is almost $1 billion movie, JD. Can you believe that? Based on a budget of $52 million.
I actually can't believe it. On one hand, but on the other hand, it's Queen, man.
Yeah, people love it.
Queen.
People love Queen. Freddie Mercury.
Well,
Woo.
Exactly. Yeah, let's get into it. On Rotten Tomatoes, this is only a 60% critic score.
Okay.
Audience, 85%. But who cares? This movie qualifies as a certainly a non-stinker for our purposes because it won the Golden Globe for Best Picture Drama. Mm-hmm. Nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, but if you remember, it lost to Green Book. And it won Best Actor, Rami Malek, Best Film Editing, we'll get to that, Best Sound Editing, and Best Sound Mixing. So this is a 4-time Oscar winner and a Golden Globe winner for Best Picture Drama.
Yeah.
So even though it's at 60%, I mean, that would have been an interesting thing to look through, low critic score movies that still won multiple Oscars. But JD, unless you happen to anticipate that and did some research, I did not.
No, I didn't. I barely did any research. I watched the movie.
And I know that
Stay consistent.
that was enough research for you.
I mean, no, it wasn't, but that's what I had time to do, so that's what I did. But I got takes. I got things to say, I think.
You always do.
Okay, perfect. So normally at this point I'd ask you and I'd ask Rachel, what was your experience the first time seeing this movie, and then what was it like rewatching it? But before we get to that, I kind of feel it's necessary to instead ask you, and we'll start with you, JD, what's your experience with Queen the band?
My experience with Queen the band is I was introduced to Queen, early. I mean, what's the album with the robot on it? Is that News of the World? I think it's News of the World. It's got We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions on it back to back. I remember my cousin had that album and we listened to it all the way through. Very cool album art. A giant robot like picking up a bunch of people. I think is there blood on there?
Yeah. That is cool.
Yeah. But the robot looks sort of innocent. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
like, hey, I'm just picking up these humans and they're like dying in his hand. Anyways, I was...
will all end.
Yes, probably. I was fascinated by the album art. It was the golden age of album art. You know, we'll get into this later, but Brian May's guitar, I had never heard anything like it. Just the screaming wail of his guitar and the chords and just the blow your head off kind of like rock and roll with the pageantry and everything else. And I had no idea what any of them looked like. I only knew the robot picture, you know.
You're like, wow, this music's made by 4 robots.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it was, and ever since then, I've loved them. My whole high school, I had Queen's Greatest Hits, like just completely wore that vinyl down. Rebought the Greatest Hits and Night at the Opera on CD. I'm not super into their deep cut stuff, you know, but definitely huge Queen fan over here.
So you were not big into "I Love My Car."
Nope, I don't even know if I've heard that one.
I've never heard of that. I was introduced to it through junior high and senior high basketball.
Oh.
They always played it
We Are the
for
Champions?
warm-ups, and We Will Rock You
Okay.
for warm-ups
Yeah.
before the game, halftime. Whether I was playing or whether I was watching other games, it pumped the shit out of everyone. Got you going.
Of course.
Isn't that kind of ironic that this is far and away the Jock Jam band of all time? Like,
Yeah.
it's not even in dispute, is it?
Absolutely not.
Between "We Will Rock You," which is, even if they're not playing the song in an arena, everyone's doing stomp, stomp, clap.
Yeah.
As Brian May in the movie was like showing you as if it was a revolutionary thing. He's like, hold on. Oh, no, shut up. The idea is going to leave my brain if you don't. What was it? Stomp, clap, clap? No. Stomp, clap. Then "We Are the Champions" sung at every NBA championship parade.
Yeah, of course.
And
At any
the bass-
championship parade. I mean,
Any championship.
Yeah,
Like Rachel's saying, like from high school, whatever basketball team to all the way to professionals, everyone is singing "We Are the Champions." Fans, the team itself, and Another One Bites the Dust, I feel like, is always played in.
Those songs were made for the masses, just like this movie was.
That's right. But isn't it ironic that the greatest Jock Jam band of all time is a band that I'm guessing jocks from the 70s and 80s would have, rallied against? Or just the idea that a gay, flamboyant frontman is making all this sports rock music for you?
He was also a jock, though.
There's
too.
an irony there.
He was a jock, though, too. Like boxing and ping pong, I think. Does that count as a jock?
Boxing for sure. Boxing
Ping
for sure,
pong,
yeah.
maybe not so much.
The
Ping
rest
pong,
of the rest of the band are total dorks. They make Rush look cool, Like no offense to Rush. I love Rush, but those guys are dorks. And Queen, like Brian May is an astrophysicist, like he builds his own guitars. Like those guys are dorks. They're not
the only
jocks.
fact that you find out about Brian May in the whole movie is that he's an astrophysicist.
Exactly.
Which is, let's just bring stuff up as it comes up.
Okay.
Did you feel like, obviously they're like, Freddie Mercury is the most famous person in Queen, doy. The most interesting person in Queen, doy. But do you feel like they over-indexed on Freddie Mercury to the point where no one else was a real character in this? Or do you just feel like that's an inevitable function of making a movie about Queen?
I felt like they tried to insert themselves as much as they could have to take away from Freddie Mercury, because I did not get any background about Freddie, really, which left me begging to know about his childhood. Like, I felt like they really, they wanted you to know what's his, the drummer was a fucking ladies' man. They beat us over the head with all of his lady procurement.
I mean, did they though? Like, hold on. This is a criticism I have of this, but I hear what you're saying, because it is told from the band's perspective, right? Like, they are telling us about Freddie Mercury, which is why it feels so shallow. Sacha Baron Cohen was supposed to play Freddie Mercury, and I don't know if you want to get into that, how he wanted a more lascivious, sort of gritty tell-all of a man who was easily the most flamboyant rock star ever, probably, and has had a huge sexual appetite, and famous for being gay and having lots and lots of partners and wild fucking parties. Queen, they're in a difficult situation because they're trying to look out for their dead friend. I don't think we should have dwarves with cocaine trays walking around this party, strapped to their head, which is a lore that we've heard of before. All of the homosexuality stuff is really hush-hush, sort of off-screen type stuff. But all this to say, it's all about Freddie, but the band is just sort of like window dressing, and we hear nothing. To get back to your original question. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say famous for being gay, that Freddie Mercury was famous for, because this movie treats it like a giant twist.
Right.
It's like they're dropping all these hints. Like, I think it's the first scene of the movie when Freddie's going out to after he, the airplane baggage handling scene. He's like, oh, I'm going out to the bar. And then the mom's like, oh, with who? And he's like, with some friends. And she's like, a lady friend? And the sister like, turns her head around as if to say, Mom! Don't you know? And then right after that, he sees a Smile, which is the, pre-Queen band play that he's not yet a part of. Mm-hmm. And then he walks backstage and a man just like eye fucks him.
Yeah.
Insanely hard. there was an awooga sound missing from the soundtrack there. And that's just right before he lays eyes on Mary Austin, who he's going to go on, who's whether you want to say ironically, the other only main character in the whole movie.
Yeah. Poor Jim Hutton, eh? Jeez.
Yeah, he got way swept under the rug.
Yeah. Well, and then obviously the villain, Paul Prenter, which if he's going to be the villain, can you show him doing some more villainous things?
Thank you.
Because by the way, he's dead, so he cannot, by the time the movie's made, he's long dead and can't file a lawsuit against them.
Yeah.
So they just dump it all on him, which even on some cursory background reading that I've done on Queen, a lot of it just very, very untrue.
But he did take all of his secrets and give it to the son, right? After he got fired. So I think that's why they're using him as a villain, because that was kind of
Yes,
shitty.
no, for sure. And he definitely was a hanger-on, and he definitely annoyed the other members of Queen. I'm just saying the movie, I don't know if the movie goes far enough, and that goes back to what you're saying, JD, of there's one scene that drives me nuts in this movie, which is the scene where Freddie's throwing one of his crazy Freddie parties, which,
yes,
by the way, he was...
Do those. We couldn't see them. They were out of the frame.
Yeah, I'm doing scare quotes here. Because, like you said, JD, Freddie is famous for his sexual appetites and famous for throwing these insane parties. So they're like...
you only serve champagne at, apparently. I'm like, wow, you're getting wild tonight. Champers for everyone.
I'm telling you, there were things being passed around on silver trays at those parties, but it wasn't champagne. So we're supposed to... The band's invited to this party. This, again, crazy party that is so crazy that I think the craziest thing is there's a woman in underwear on a bike?
But do you know why? Do you know why?
She's the fat bottom girl.
And they're turned so it looks like one of the covers of Fat Bottom.
Okay, you see, I didn't catch that detail.
Yeah. So that
this movie's lost. I'm not smart enough to understand this film.
Just connecting the dots, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, for this scene to work, though, Freddie sits down, and we're supposed to believe at this point Freddie is kind of disassociating himself from the band, and he's always late. It's sort of implied he's on drugs, but we're not really ever seeing it. Anyways, so the band's like, yeah, Freddie, this isn't really our scene. This is a little too crazy for us. And nothing crazy is happening around them. So it makes the band seem like they're the biggest fucking nerds of all time. Like champagne, like you said, Rachel, is being passed around, and they're like,
Ooh,
man, I don't know.
It's ridiculous. It's like having Brian May clutching his pearls the entire time on set, which apparently he was every day with one of the other ones. You're totally right, Matt. This Paul guy, we don't know why they hate him. Other than he's around and they just fucking hate him. And forget about real life. From a storytelling point of view, it makes no sense. He literally did nothing.
It implies a homophobia to me.
Maybe it may. I mean, that's how it comes off.
I mean, we're going to get to this, but the quote-unquote worst thing he did, seemingly to do, was he was screening his calls and not telling people that certain people were trying to reach out.
Right.
Yeah.
And which didn't happen because the band was in Munich with them most of this time. And he doesn't tell them about Live Aid, which is a complete fabrication.
Yeah.
So this movie desperately needs a villain, but more than that, it needs a story.
Yeah.
Right? Because this movie starts with a flash forward to Live Aid. We see Freddie about to walk out on stage.
Yep.
Just in case you'd never heard of Queen before and needed 30 seconds at the start to go okay, well, even though this movie's boring at the start because the man's not rock star yet, he eventually will become rock star.
Right.
It's,
I don't know. I kind of liked seeing his visual as he came to the stage. I mean, it kind of pumped me up for a second start.
Whatever.
Little
That's
foreplay.
far from... I agree. Far from a problem with the movie. What is a problem with the movie, though, is that it tells their story over 15 years, from 70 to 85 in Live Aid. This is, it's subjective, but it's still pretty much a fact that they killed Live Aid.
Yep.
They had the best performance at Live Aid, the most memorable performance at Live Aid. But you need tension around that moment. And so the tension you build is that Freddie's like, I'm going to go solo. Fuck you guys. You bore me. He goes off. The band's like crossing their arms and twiddling their thumbs like, wow, Freddie is an egomaniac and being a frontman got to him. And now he's off on his own. And then Freddie has this big fall where we don't see any of the crazy sex and the crazy parties and the crazy drugs, but the movie nods its head at him doing them. And then doesn't find about Live Aid. The band's like, hey, man, we should really be doing Live Aid. And then Freddie has to come groveling back to them, and they haven't played in forever. And so Live Aid is going to be like, can we get it back together for Live Aid? Yeah. Complete fabrication. They had just done a tour a couple months before Live Aid, and it is even more galling because there were bands like, and sorry, JD, these are your two favorite bands, The Who and Led Zeppelin, that did reunite for Live Aid and have famously disastrous performances. Like Phil Collins was drumming for Led Zeppelin, and he said it was a 20-minute performance, and he almost walked off stage during it. It was so bad. And apparently they didn't even put the Led Zeppelin performance in the like video recap of it.
Oh, really?
And that's Led fucking Zeppelin reuniting, right?
That's right. But to be fair, both their drummers were dead, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
And they had two drummers. They had the guy from Chic on stage too. And apparently Phil Collins didn't know there were going to be two drummers. It's actually pretty funny hearing Phil Collins talk about it. There was an excerpt from his autobiography that talked about it. You stink! And you stink because you're active. So what are you going to do about the BO? Completely change your life so you live in a bubble and never move? Impossible. We're working out. We're carrying grocery bags in one trip. We're in an office where the boss likes it real steamy and there's tape over the thermostat because he doesn't trust you, which is actually accurate because you would turn it down if you could. Slowing down's out of the question. What's the solution? I have it here in my hando. It's Mando. Mando is whole body deodorant that I use because it's clinically proven to block odor all day. And no, I did not misspeak. Mando is whole body deodorant. So, JD, ask the question on everyone's mind.
Do you put it on your dick?
That's, very close.
Do you put it under your balls?
That's the question on everyone's mind.
Okay, all right.
And the answer is yes, you do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's whole body deodorant. Where have I put Mando? Pop quiz. Behind my knees.
Yes.
Yes, correct. Inner thighs.
Oh, yeah.
Correct. Hands.
Yeah, I'm going to say yeah.
That's right. Keep
Wow.
it jazzy, baby. What about the belt line, the waistband? That gets a little sweaty under there.
I know mine does. Yes, I would say yes.
Feet.
Oh, 100%.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you remember in Lost when John Locke said, "Don't tell me what I can't do. Don't tell me where I can't put Mando. I won't hear of it." The deodorant stick. This is keeping me fresh. That's a non-negotiable. I'm using the invisible cream post-shower. And yes, it's invisible. Like, oh, did I put it on? Because sometimes I don't remember if I put it on because that's how invisible. The spray, I'm misting. And it's got me feeling like the man when I walk through. Okay. You know what I'm saying, JD?
Absolutely. So are you spraying it in the air and then walking through the spritz, or are you just right directly on your bod?
That's what I'm doing. You see, can you
I'm seeing it, sort of.
Well, that's bourbon leather. Ooh. Two things I love together in one package, making me smell fresh.
Yeah.
Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes. Boom, got those 2, and free shipping. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code GOOD at shopmando.com. shopmando.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. That's shopmando.com. Use code GOOD. And now we can get into what's real and what's not real, but it really makes this movie a complete zero, that the entire dramatic tension of the movie is a complete fabrication.
Really? I mean, I hear what you're saying. I like that the climax of the movie and everything is centered around Live Aid because it, as you say, they killed it. They stole the show, the biggest gig ever. as you say, they need conflict. They need villains. They need to tell a story. Yep. It's not as interesting to find out, oh, and he found out he had HIV 2 years later or whenever he found out.
He told them in 1989.
Right.
It's a little disputed, like, exactly when he knew, but he certainly was not, again, this is from everything I've read, he certainly was not, like, seemingly about to die in 1985 before Live Aid, which they definitely show. Like, he can't sing, he's coughing all the time.
Yeah.
Not true. He didn't tell them just before Live Aid that he had HIV. He told them 4 years later.
Right.
They're basically, I agree with you, you need some dramatic tension, but maybe you got to go back to square one if the dramatic tension is all completely made up.
Yeah,
like,
shouldn't it be
there
from
wasn't
his
even
life? His, like, more specific to the drama that must have been happening in Freddie Mercury's life. I'm sure you could have found something there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%, Rachel. And by the way, 2 members of the band already did solo albums before Freddie ever did. So this idea that Freddie was going to, like, break up the band because he wanted to go solo, just not true. So everything that creates dramatic tension in the story is basically a lie, and everything that could show dramatic tension is scraped away because they insisted on a PG-13 rating, which this movie had. And Sacha Baron Cohen, like you said, JD, was like, fucking Freddie Mercury is, we've said it a million times already, the most flamboyant, amazing, dramatic lead singer of all time. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And, here's, just for example, here's Brian May. This is a quote from Brian May. Obviously, we go into, he's talking about the movie, with a great amount of enthusiasm, but also a certain amount of caution because Freddie's legacy is very precious, and we have a great responsibility not to mess it up. It's more about Freddie than it is about us, and that's deliberately so.
Really, Brian?
I know, and that's, we're in this age of music documentaries, which are probably my favorite genre of thing to watch.
Yeah.
They're basically pointless now because everyone is made in partnership with the band themselves or the estate of the band.
Right.
Like we're I don't know if you've been following this Prince documentary thing. So Ezra Edelman, who did the OJ 30 for 30, that was like 8 hours or something, that won the Oscar.
Yep.
He signed on to do a Prince documentary, and it's also going to be like this huge epic 8, 9, 10-parter. I'm not exactly sure. The thing's done. It's in the can.
Right.
And then Prince's estate was like, no, you're not putting this out. And the way they did it was they went to Netflix, who was releasing the original documentary, and were like, we'll give you full access and whatever, but, this is what you're going to do in the future. Just never release this movie. And it seems actually like it worked. Like, this movie will never see the light of day. And all this to say,
but hold on, why won't it see the light of day? Because there's something in it that
because there's
Paisley
fucking
Park
sex and
want.
talks about how Prince was a complicated figure and by some turns elevated women, and by other turns, I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but was a dick.
Right. Yeah. So
and did a lot of drugs, and the controversy surrounding his death. This, the stuff that makes it actually interesting.
Yeah.
That he's a real human.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, and here, that's the sort of the tension here is that, I mean, they could release a Prince documentary, a tell-all Prince documentary, but there ain't going to be any Prince music in it.
So
right?
you need all these rock stars to do their biopics while they're alive, like Elton John did for Rocket Man, because that was fucking amazing.
Okay, yeah. I mean, definitely a far superior movie.
I did not like that movie. I
Really?
saw it in theaters with my mother, so I cannot speak to...
Oh, God, how are you going to enjoy that with your mother sitting beside you? Jesus.
Why? It wasn't that. It was pretty sanitized, too.
There's some pretty graphic sex scenes, as I remember.
I mean, graphic enough to be sitting with your mother.
Yeah, but with your mother.
Cock it, man.
They went to the censored version.
Well, your point is well taken, Rachel, because Elton John is still alive, and he's like, yeah, fucking show it. Show me hit rock bottom. Show me having sex with John Reed or whatever his name was. Crossover, same character in different movies, like different universe, I guess. It's sort of weird to watch them in the same weekend. But yeah, like he doesn't care, or, that is also a movie that has a lot of factual inaccuracies in terms of timing, when things were written, when things came out. But goddamn, that movie gives me the feels. And Elton John, at this point, no matter what happens to him, he's going to die of old age, right? If he died today, I hope he doesn't, but he's he's an old guy, right? Like,
we'll have to pull this episode. So.
We'll have to pull it, yeah. But yeah, he has the control. Like your point is very well taken.
But by the way, I just watched the Elton John, not related to this project that we're doing, but I just watched the Elton John documentary that's on Disney Plus about, it's kind of uses the final tour and the final Dodger Stadium performance to go back and look at his life. Mm-hmm. And that's fully under the auspices of Elton John. I would not say a true tell-all, and I would not say it gets into the dirty nitty gritty. I would still love a real biography of Elton John, because I enjoyed it, but I know there's stuff,
there's
that's
a bias.
Yeah, there's stuff that's biased for sure.
Yeah.
But maybe, speaking of Rocket Man, can I give you one of my major takeaways from this film?
Please.
Should have been a musical.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
100%.
That would have been amazing. Oh my God.
Because, two reasons. One, it actually can be sillier and less, quote unquote, serious if it's a musical, because they're all singing. But also, this movie wants to be a musical, and I'll tell you in 3 scenes why I think this.
Okay.
The scene where he meets the other 2 guys from Queen in the parking lot. So they're in this band called Smile, I think, or no, it's something Smile.
Something
Anyway,
Smile, yeah.
their lead singer leaves them, and by the way, in real life, Freddie knew them from before. They were friends. Brian May dated Mary Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and
Before.
he ran a shop with. Was it Brian May in Kensington Market, of clothing stall? He had a clothing.
Who, Freddie
stall.
did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. And by the way, I just want to say, those little, like, shifting time things, that doesn't bother me at all in terms of the accuracy.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I read was like, well, actually, they show them playing this song at this concert, but that song wasn't written until... Okay, fine. I don't really care. But, you can mess around with the timing to serve the dramatic tension, but if the dramatic tension itself is made up, then that's where I raise an eyebrow. Okay, so the 3 scenes here. He meets the guys in the parking lot. They start harmonizing out of nowhere. Do you remember this scene?
Yeah.
They're like, well, you'll never be our lead singer with those teeth. And Freddie's like, yeah, you fucking got me. I am ugly. And then he's like, starts walking away and he turns around. He's like, I don't even know what song he's singing, but he starts singing a song. Then
the
they
song they
harmonize.
were singing. It was the Smile
Yeah, then he
song.
harmonizes with them. Okay.
Yeah.
Then there's a scene where he has people over to his family's house, and out of nowhere, everyone else is talking. He gets up and moves to the piano and starts singing "Happy Birthday" to himself, and goes, "Happy birthday, Freddie Mercury." And then his dad's like, "What? Freddie Mercury? Who's that?" He's like, "That's me, Dad." Like,
2, 3, 4, Freddie Mercury is my new name. What happened to you, Farouk?
He was just being a hysterical fool.
What happened to you, Farouk, is a great name for a song.
You're going to write it, aren't you? You're going to write this and get Sacha Baron Cohen in there.
Yeah, we're going to do this for real.
I've always known I'd go very far since I was a young boy in Zanzibar.
Yes.
Put up your dukes, let's get it on. Okay, that's enough.
Okay, and then there's the scene where they're all fighting, and then the bass player. Sorry, I don't remember the bass player's name, but
who cares?
If you've seen the movie, I don't know if they.
You know
say
who he's Timmy, right? Timmy from Jurassic Park. Tim.
Stop.
Little Tim, the human toast.
What?
Wait, what do you mean? It's the same actor?
Yeah, same actor.
Joseph Mazzello?
Yeah.
That's the same actor as the kid from Jurassic Park?
Oh,
I think
yeah,
so.
I see it.
That
I was
does
like,
the hacking?
This guy
John
looks so
Deacon.
familiar. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's him.
Wow,
Okay.
okay, that's crazy. See?
Anyway,
These
let's
are all
tell
good
him
nuggets. But anyways, there's a scene where they're fighting, and then the bass players are going, ba-da-dum, boom, boom, ba-dum, boom, 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 and then that's what stops their fighting, and they're like, wow, that's something. And then plus the clapping and stomping, "We Will Rock You" scene. This movie is a musical.
Yeah, sure. I found it a bit cringe, and
Well, that's the other point. Like, some people find musicals in general cringe, but actually it's less cringe than when you try to tell me this is actually a real life thing you're watching.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, a man starts singing, and then 2 other people harmonize with him.
Yeah.
Like, that's way cringier.
And the irony is that the guy that took over from Bryan Singer ended up going on to direct Rocket Man, which is a musical.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fletcher.
Well,
Fletcher.
I didn't even know if we needed to talk about that.
Yeah.
Like the whole. I mean, he was basically. if you believe him, left the movie because he had some family issues. If you believe everyone else, he went on some kind of bender and left the movie, and they already hated him because he was apparently mean to Rami Malek. Right. And
how could you?
And oh yeah, laundry list of sexual misconduct and abuse, specifically with underage men.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Excuse me, my mom's
pick
sick.
your reason as to why he left, and he left with about 2 to 3 weeks left. So
right.
This movie is still Bryan Singer's movie.
Yeah, and I don't know how that works, like with the Directors Guild. I mean, the guy left with, I don't know, a third of the movie still needed to be shot. Plus, there's the edit and everything else. Like, how are you not like giving the director, like Fletcher, his due, Anyways, whatever. He got an executive producer credit, so who cares, I guess. But
the one thing I read was that I think in writing with the WGA it might be different, but in the DGA, the Directors Guild, you can only have one director's name on it as directed by.
Right.
But actually, is that true?
What about the Russo brothers? The Coen brothers take turns, right?
All that it said was basically he shot the bulk of the movie, and he had done all the casting and the pre-production and stuff, and then they ruled, I don't know if there's some kind of arbitration, that he was the one that got his name on it. And then, by the way, I didn't remember this. Just after the movie was released, The Atlantic magazine came out with a huge expose on Bryan Singer, and they found more people that alleged that he had sexually assaulted them when they were minors. And GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance, was like, all right, they were honoring the movie, and then they were like, all right, we can't do this. And I think, interestingly, one of the main reasons was that Bryan Singer was using homophobia as justification. Like, he was like, oh, these allegations are all untrue, and they're just coming after me because I'm gay. And GLAAD was like, all right, man, you're kind of setting us back here. Like, you can be gay and also be a bad person too.
Yeah. You're not automatically virtuous. Anyway, they had an opportunity to make a pretty cool movie. Fuck, I agree with you. Lean into the musical part of it, but instead we get the most generic paint by numbers biopic. And I generally like biopics. I like stepping into that slice of history most times, even bad biopics. And I did enjoy that about this particular movie, just being in that time and space and the recreation of Live Aid. But then, it could have been so much more. I mean, I would almost you're saying musical, Matt. I'm saying maybe even go towards docudrama. You know what I mean? Like that whole last 20 minutes at Wembley, just restore the footage. You scanned the bodies of 150 extras and, painstakingly recreated Wembley when you should have just sick Peter Jackson on it. Same sound, like they basically used the soundtrack anyway. It would have been like audacious and cool for the last 20 minutes to be the actual footage from Live Aid. And no one would have noticed.
Are you saying cheat in Rami Malek's face over Freddie Mercury's?
No. Just do it. Just go for it,
man.
The
crowd shots.
That's the end of the movie. Because that's what that's how it ends anyways, right? Like they go off stage.
It's truncated. I mean, I don't want to see the full 25 minutes of Rami Malek cosplaying as Freddie Mercury. I think he does a great job.
But there was 20 minutes of him cosplaying. That's what I'm saying.
Is it a full 20 minutes?
That's fine. There's like 3. They took out 2 songs from their set. So it felt like 20 minutes. Make it the same length. Don't do the whole thing. What's the point of recreate it shot for shot for shot when you could just restore the video, digitally make it sexy? And there were shots we watched the performance, actual performance. It looks so much better. Like the shot selection live from whoever's in the truck at Wembley is actually kind of better because they do the Radio Gaga where they're like, all we hear is Radio Gaga. And the whole 100,000 people going, Radio Gaga, clap, clap, like at the same time, right? But they kind of fuck that up in the movie because it's all digital and it's like, they're like, oh, it wouldn't be like that because the sound is moving out or whatever. But it is like that. Everybody is doing it at the same time and it looks amazing. So that's what I would change with this movie. Well, one of many things, but...
Yeah. Just finishing the musical part while we're talking about the music here. Did you know the Queen actually does have a musical?
Yeah, it's a Broadway musical.
Yeah, a Broadway musical
Yeah.
called We Will Rock You.
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
know what
yeah.
it's about?
No, I don't.
I'm just going to read you the synopsis. We Will Rock You tells the story of a globalized future without musical instruments. A handful of rock rebels, the Bohemians, fight against the all-powerful Global Soft Company and its boss, the Killer Queen. They fight for freedom, individuality, and the rebirth of the age of rock.
Stop.
Here's the
Please
best
stop.
part. Scaramouche and Galileo,
Oh,
two
for
young
fuck's
outsiders,
sakes.
cannot come to terms with the bleak conformist reality. They join the Bohemians and embark on the search to find the unlimited power of freedom, love, and rock. Oh, we're on drugs now, baby!
What's
Yeah.
left of my hair is standing on end.
Yeah, but you would one day take Rachel and the kids to London,
Yeah.
and you would go to the West End, and you would watch this, and
I
you
would.
would text me and be like, you know what, it was great.
You're probably right. But
You text me and say, we were dancing in the aisles.
yep,
God.
you're right. But
We'd be going to Mamma Mia first. That's for sure.
Yeah, okay.
hell yeah,
Another great band. Should we address your costumes right now?
sure, yeah. We're wearing. I'm dressed as Wayne Campbell
Yes.
and
Titular character.
a titular
from-
character. From
What's
Wayne's
Garth's
World.
last name?
Garth
Algarth.
Algarth.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Or is it Algar or Algarth? It's something like
It's
that.
Algar, yeah, yeah, whatever it is. But so, what did you think of Mike Myers being in the movie, shitting on Bohemian Rhapsody?
I couldn't have hated it more.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Everybody
Yeah.
seems to hate it.
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because you give up the reality of the movie for a cheap laugh. Like you say, so if you don't know what we're talking about, then why? I don't know why you're listening to this point, but there's a scene in the movie where Mike Myers plays this guy, Ray Foster, who, again, completely made up, but whatever, that doesn't bother me. He's basically a stand-in for this guy, Roy Featherstone, who apparently was actually a huge fan of Queen and their music, and yes, there was controversy over releasing Bohemian Rhapsody as a single, but just because it was so long.
It could be,
But-
but can you imagine a discussion about it? Like, it is kind of long, and there is a big opera part in it. So, yeah, we're gonna have a meeting and we're gonna talk it through. That's for sure, at the very least.
No, thank you. It's crazy.
If you've never heard, it's impossible to think of the song Bohemian Rhapsody without all of the context of it, but if you just heard it for the first time in a vacuum,
Yeah.
0% chance you would put that on the radio. I mean, the only analog is what, Stairway?
Stairway,
But I don't even- was
MacArthur
Stairway
Park.
even-
They even mention in the.
Oh, yeah,
in-
that's a good one.
In it. But yeah, there are several examples of even just like the argument that like that. Okay, go ahead, finish your Wayne Campbell complaint, and then we can get into.
Okay, so Mike Myers plays the role. Now, flashback to 1992 when Wayne's World comes out. There's a very famous scene where they're all headbanging and singing along to Bohemian Rhapsody in their car. Garth and Wayne and three friends in the back, and they're doing all the Galileos. And apparently, Mike Myers growing up was like, this was the central thing in the movie for me, because my friends and I would get in the car, we'd put in the tape. And like, if someone said someone else's Galileo, we'd be arguing with each other. And he's like, it's a great song, it's a triumphant song, but it's also inherently funny and in sort of inherently campy and insane. And I knew there'd be a lot of place for comedy. But in 91, or I guess it comes out in 92, they're probably shooting in 91. It's 6 years after Live Aid. Freddie actually has just died, and Bohemian Rhapsody went to number one again in the UK, but it had never gone to number one in America. And apparently Lorne Michaels wanted them to use a Guns N' Roses song, because he was like, this movie's for the young hip kids. No one cares about Queen. Queen is not cool at all.
Right.
And he apparently threatened to walk off the movie and all this stuff anyway. So he got his wish, and it becomes an insanely iconic scene, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
and then in America, after Wayne's World comes out, Bohemian Rhapsody goes to number 2 on the Hot 100, which is its highest position. And actually one other interesting thing is, before Freddie died, because he died a year before it came out, they had filmed the car scene, and somehow Mike Myers got it to Brian May, and Freddie was very sick at this point, and Brian May gave it to Freddie Mercury, and apparently he died laughing. Like, he loved it. Yeah, isn't that's very
Nice to
sweet.
hear.
He loved the scene, and he didn't get to see the movie, but he got to see the scene.
Right.
So I think it's kind of a thank you because that movie really made Queen relevant again,
right?
Especially in America, because also in '92 the Queen's greatest hits with the red one with the Queen, insignia on the cover, which is my first exposure to Queen. That's all '92. So they have him in the movie. He plays Ray Foster, and he says this line about like, no one wants Bohemian Rhapsody. People want things like I Love My Car.
Right.
The shitty song the drummer wrote. And he's like, you're never going to get kids headbanging in a car to something called Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right.
So that's just a long way to explain why that joke is supposed to make the audience go, ha ha ha. It's funny because it exactly is the kind of song people will be headbanging in cars.
But did you like it more that it was like Fat Bastard went to Weight Watchers?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. I was fine with Mike Myers being there as a nod. But isn't that enough of a nod for it just to be Mike Myers?
Yes. I didn't hate it as much as people and you did. But yeah, I have that whole scene drove me up the wall. The whole being in a band thing was driving me insane. Like when they're recording Bohemian Rhapsody, for example, and he's, it shows Brian May doing his iconic guitar solo in that, and then it's like, stop tape. That was great. Put your hips into whatever he says. And then he says, wait till you hear the operatic part. As if they hadn't, like they're recording a song without having it be written yet. Like that whole part of it was added afterwards.
Okay, I hate to do this. Can I give you a well, actually?
Okay, well, actually, me.
From what Brian May said, they recorded that in parts in different studios. So apparently they recorded the operatic part completely separately. And when he does the guitar solo up into the... I don't have whatever, like and then the ding 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 comes in. That was completely separate, and they did roll it in after.
Okay, but they didn't know they were going to be doing it. Like Freddie Mercury was.
I don't know if they didn't know they were going to be doing it. Yeah. No, I guess they must have known they were going to be doing it, but maybe they had not heard it yet.
Yeah, because they hadn't recorded it yet. That's fine, but it's like he made it sound like you haven't heard anything yet. Like this is going to blow your mind, as if they started recording a song without knowing how it was going to end and go. Never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so when we went and stayed in Tweed, which was like this sexy little farmhouse when Jason was in a band, and he had his producer come out and they recorded an album there.
Okay, Rachel, you need to give a little more context here for the people.
Well, Jason was in a band for 10 years, and Tweed, rural Ontario.
Yeah, we stayed at a farmhouse, a la Queen or Led Zeppelin used to do.
So you had everything prepped and ready to go, obviously, because you're paying this producer to do all this stuff. But you guys were paying for it. You didn't have someone else paying for it.
Okay. This is how the music industry works, regardless. Whether we weren't signed, it was an independent album, but the band is paying for the recording of the album. Like, they are given in advance. When somebody says, you just got $1 million record contract, it's like, that's a loan of $1 million, Mm-hmm. So that, so there's that. But yes, to your point, the songs were written before we got there. Yes. We're not fucking dicking around. Now, maybe they were, experimenting, or they had time to...
But JD, many albums are written in the studio. That is absolutely a thing.
Yeah. Yes, I will give you
some artists, you'll hear them go like, you know what, I didn't have anything, and we had already had the studio booked, and I needed the pressure of there, and I worked through it all with Rick Rubin, and whatever. Yeah, that's a thing that definitely happens.
100%. And what rang more true was their first recording session at the university, where they're putting coins on the timpani, and they're just fucking around and trying shit all night. I've been there. I've done that. The song's still written, but there are people at 3:00 in the morning will be like, you know what this could use? An oboe. Is there an oboe lying around? Like, I have wheeled in a ratty old piano, out-of-tune piano to lay down a track on a song in the middle of the night for sure, because you had one night to record. I'm pretty sure I heard one of the bandmates, a musician, say, "More treble," It's like, what are you talking about? Like, That's not a thing. Isn't that like more treble?
So you're saying it's all about the bass, no treble?
That's exactly right. Or you know what fucking really drove me crazy was when Miami Beach is somehow in the sound booth for fucking Live Aid, and there's a piece of tape on the mixer saying, "Do not put this above these." Like it looked like master faders, whatever they were. Did he know that what they were? I don't know. And he just turned it up to 11.
By the way, apparently it was not Miami Beach, but apparently their sound guy did turn up the sound before their performance, so that they would be
to what though?
loudest.
Like to what? To
11.
Right? No. What was he? Was he increasing the signal
The total
to TV?
sound, the master volume.
A master volume. Okay. Well,
I don't know, man.
So rock star.
The
it's
idea
just
that
so stupid.
their
It's like,
lawyer would be there, though, being like,
oh yeah.
okay.
Oh, you know what? These guys go to 11 all the way up. Like, come on. You know, like that shit just drives me crazy.
So if my first experience with the Queen is basically Wayne's World and then that Greatest Hits album coming out in '92, do you have memories of them at Live Aid?
I do. Yeah, I watched it live.
The only way that it was possible to watch it.
Yeah, and I wasn't specific. I was waiting for the Who, to be honest. Like I was like, oh shit, yeah, the Who's coming on, and I think they came on like after them, maybe, probably.
They did because one of the things about Queen was it was still daytime. It was still light outside.
Yeah,
and they're like, this isn't going to be great for us. But then they went on and carried the day.
It was an amazing thing to watch unfold, and I kind of found out about it the day it was happening, and I just like turned it. I was like, oh shit, this is on right now, and just in 1985, like bouncing back and forth as I think they did. I may have misremembering, but they would show like a set in Philly, and then they would go to Wembley, and then they would go back to Philly. Like in that day and age, like just an incredible feat of technology, you know, like, so I just remember being blown away by them. And like, I'm like, oh my God, Freddie Mercury is he's the man.
Now I must be a rock star.
Yeah.
Now I must be a rock star, move to Greece and play in a band.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what did it for you?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. Hey, well, if we make the biopic of your life, you know what?
God, you're going to have to really invent some drama there.
Rami Malek wins Best Actor for this. I don't know do you remember who he was nominated against at the Oscars that year?
No idea. It was a weird year because it was pandemic, was it not? Or was it?
No. It was
okay.
2019.
The 2019 Oscars.
No idea. Who you got?
Christian Bale, Vice. The Dick Cheney one.
Yeah.
Adam McKay. Bradley Cooper, A Star Is Born.
Yes.
Willem Dafoe, At Eternity's Gate.
Okay.
A movie I to be honest, have not seen.
Not seen it either.
And Vigo for Green Book.
Right.
Did you watch The Acceptance?
No. Did he put the teeth in?
No. It was lovely. Very much about, being an immigrant coming from Egypt. And he also gave Lucy Boynton,
Yeah.
his co-star, big ol' kiss. I think they're still together. He kept his Mary.
Mary and him are together right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big scoop. So he wasn't gay.
He was not gay, as it turns out.
So, Rachel, did you like Rami's performance?
I loved it. I did. I enjoyed it very much. And I would watch it again for him. But knowing the false parts of it, I would skip through it because I would be annoyed knowing that these parts of the movie were not actually true. They were totally fabricated just to get to like the studio parts and the Live Aid concert. Because I did enjoy everything he did with Freddie Mercury's work.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I thought all the performances were great. I can't believe how much they look like Queen.
Oh, shit. They're no longer dating.
Oh, no. Rachel.
They dated for several years. Oh, shit. Oh, they were very cute in that.
Freddie Mercury and her lasted longer.
Damn.
I mean, the original.
They did. They lived together off and on for 20 years or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, at the heart of the movie, that sort of that sort of love story is there. It's kind of weird though. And again,
Well,
I feel
a lot
bad.
of criticism for that. I'm just interrupting you to ask how you felt about that, because a lot of people were like, he's kind of a gay icon,
Yeah.
and yet the only real central relationship you give him is with a woman instead of or many men.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I was going to say, just because it is an interesting sort of heartbreaking love story, I guess. I mean, they were obviously close friends, till the end, I assume. They,
It said they were basically, he thought of her as his common law wife, and he willed her everything he had. They were super close.
Right. Wait, what? Jim got nothing?
It didn't sound like Jim got anything.
Poor Jim.
No, right? What about his sister?
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow.
She just recently sold his estate
Damn. Okay.
and all of his possessions. Like a mustache, a comb was like
You
200,000.
paused for too long, and I was like, hold on, you're saying he had a fake mustache?
It was to try out before I actually grew one.
Oh my God, that would be like the Hard Rock Cafe's most prized possession if they could
Right?
get Freddie Mercury's mustache.
There was a part that really bothered me in when they did the Another One Bites the Dust, when they did this like montage going back and forth from the song to him walking through this like tempting hallway of homoerotic.
Oh yeah.
And it's like he was doing something bad.
Yeah,
But then,
I mean,
with that song, Another One Bites the Dust, like it just is in bad taste, in my
I never
opinion.
made that connection, but yeah.
Freddie, you said love is like a roulette wheel. What do you mean by that?
Come on. That was brutal. A brutal scene, the press conference. And
Because it's so funny, because that's supposed to be like they're bleary-eyed, like we just went through hell to produce this album, and now you get that sort of like flash going off, and the sound is mixed like you're hearing them like underwater kind of thing. It's like, I can't focus, man. But it's like that album had Under Pressure on it, by the way.
Oh yeah, the glaring omission. I mean, I know it's in the movie, but sorry, you find somebody to play Bob Geldof, but you can't find someone to play David Bowie, and like that would be, I would love to see that. And when Jim Hutton shows up, and that was the person who Freddie spent the last years of his life with, you're sort of like Leo meme. Oh, there's Jim Hutton. It's like, there's Bob Geldof. Oh, was that supposed to be Bono coming off the stage? Couldn't be, because that was Dire Straits. But anyway.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's people. When you're watching a movie like this, you're sort of watching out for celebrities. And the first time I watched it, I was like, all right, who's going to play David Bowie? Like, let's go here. One of their biggest songs, right? Like, anyway.
I think we need a redo.
Oh, this movie needs a redo for
totally,
sure. Unless you want to restart this podcast. Is that what you meant?
Wow,
Because I think we're almost an hour in, so I don't really want to do it again.
that's an old school.
To be clear, I thought we could retake the beginning. But other than that, I think
good?
it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Get a little more energy off the top, otherwise it's fine. I think that, anyways, back to the criticism of that this movie focuses too much on his relationship with Mary Austin. Mm-hmm. I'm not a Freddie Mercury-ologist.
Me neither.
I'm not. I love Queen, but I'm not deep, but either into their catalog or their history. But from what I've read, I mean, this is Freddie talking. Freddie, by the way, notoriously press shy and did not give a lot of interviews. So this is in '85. He said, all my lovers asked me why they couldn't replace Mary, but it's simply impossible. The only friend I've got is Mary, and I don't want anyone else. To me, it was a marriage. We believe in each other. That's enough for me. I also read that it was Mary Austin that called Freddie Mercury's parents when he died. When he died. And so obviously they were very close. So, I mean, I guess in a sense, who am I to say that wasn't a central relationship in his life and it shouldn't be focused? But that can be true, and also see a giant missed opportunity to see what his preferences and predilections and the rest of his amazing and complicated and tangled life was.
Yeah.
I mean, and if some people are like, well, this is what he presented to the world. So that's, But isn't that the point of a movie? If all you're showing me is what's on the surface, what we know about already, then why the fuck are you even bothering here? And that's going back to the beginning, which actually now we can't retake Rachel because I won't remember exactly how I said it. But that's what pissed me off so much is this movie is just a cash grab for the band. And you could see that in that they were saying, this movie's got to be PG-13, and we're not going to tell the truth to, quote-unquote, maintain Freddie's legacy. And yet, even though, like, let's say The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary, I'm sure it could have gone way more deeper into the gambling and boozing and all this other stuff. But at least it gave you some of it. And you know what? People talked about that movie forever.
Right.
And it made Michael Jordan, again, renewed part of the conversation.
Right.
When you do that, when you present someone a little bit more warts and all, it actually connects with people more, and they have more of an appreciation for you. So I just think the band failed to do that in service of
Their
basically
comfort.
what? Trying to convince us someone's kind of a saint?
I think it was their comfort level too. They weren't comfortable with. They made it clear they weren't comfortable with that lifestyle enough that they couldn't even serve a fucking tequila shooter over champagne at the
more
party.
shots at the party.
I wanted more shots and more lines. Thank you. At least a little more realistic.
I also kind of had a problem with Freddie Mercury, the down times when he was lonely, and then the very next scene is this wild quote unquote party, which is like almost born out of, he's like, I need to do this. He didn't seem to be enjoying the party is my point. But I think Freddie Mercury did enjoy the party. Like, he enjoyed his life and the extravagance of it. And I think
but they did that because they needed to show that he was sad without his band, but he wasn't.
Right,
But
exactly.
also in real life, he wasn't.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
You know.
And then they could have, to your point about the musical part of it, they could have, if they just wanted to make a celebration of Queen music, they could have done it in a way as a musical or as just a little bit of more whimsy or something. There's a great scene in Rocket Man where Elton John is playing the Troubadour for the first time. They're playing Crocodile Rock. I don't know if you remember.
I remember.
But he starts to float. And not only him, but the entire audience starts to float. And it just gives you chills, man. Like, there's a break in the music. The song is still going, but like with, ethereal chords or whatever. And the entire room is lifting. And that's how it feels to be Elton John in that moment. Yeah. And you don't get that at all in this movie. You don't learn how it is to be Freddie Mercury, if that's the way you want to go. Mm-hmm. And like that scene in Rocket Man, I'm like, I'm in, baby. I'm in. This is fucking great. Like, and it's there's so many moments in Rocket Man like that, which this movie has none.
Well, and JD, you said you like biopics, so let me ask you this question now as we're getting towards the end. Do you think that this movie is doomed to failure before it even starts because of the amount of time it covers, like going from 1970 to 1985? Like, do you feel like it could have still been good covering? Because I'm thinking about, I saw not long ago A Complete Unknown, which was, by the way, shut out at the Oscars, unlike Bohemian Rhapsody. I'll tell you, you might be able to guess which one I think is actually better. But A Complete Unknown is 1961 to 65.
Right. Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said for narrowing your focus when you do a biopic, so you can actually get into some detail instead of glossing over the top.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I would watch a movie about the making of Night at the Opera, like literally just have it take place at the farmhouse, and all of
for sure.
There's so much conflict there already. Like, who's writing what's all of the the band stuff, the arguments that they have, they're kind of like a family. Like, that would be, I'd be very interested in that. And Paul was there causing tension, apparently. There's a movie there. So yeah, that little slice of creating that album might have been cool, But I hear
the
what
text
you're
is
saying.
like Bohemian Rhapsody eventually went like, if you portray it as like this really misunderstood text. Mm-hmm. But because it was a hit in the UK, so I guess I don't know if you can really do that.
Right.
So Rachel, is this bad?
I'm so torn because Rami Malek makes it worth it for me, and the scenes in the studio and in the concerts. I'm just going to say it's good, just because I would go back and watch those scenes over and over again and skip through the ones I didn't like. Because he was
You know they
great.
say like 90% of communication is nonverbal? This is a good example. Because your voice is saying you hated it, your body language is saying you hated
You're
it,
like
your tone
shrinking.
is saying you hated it, but the word you're saying is, I'm going to say it was good. And I don't believe you.
Rachel, you do not have to be nice to Rami Malek. You don't owe him anything.
No,
this
but-
movie made almost $1 billion. You can still say
won
it
an Oscar.
sucks. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if I would go back and watch it again, that must mean I like it.
Yeah, but you're saying I'm gonna watch it again
I'm gonna
and just
skip through.
You like Queen. I think that's what
Yeah,
you're ultimately
that's the
saying.
thing.
You like the band.
And
this
I like him.
movie shows some songs they did.
Yeah, I think that they should do another one.
I mean,
Make me another one, folks.
guys, to your point of fudging the numbers and moving things around and just creating things that aren't there, rewriting history basically. This movie is so popular, it is now canon, right? Like
Yeah,
people are going to think that this is a true story, and
And that's a problem.
that is a problem. Because it's not. I mean, it's a great lesson about like biopics and historical dramas in general, because there's a lot of filmmaking movie magic that's happening. Sometimes to create drama or whatever. But also it's just going to alter and warp the memory that is Freddie Mercury. I think Freddie Mercury would hate this fucking movie.
Yeah.
I think he would, like, honestly.
Being released in 2018, it's just very surprising they wouldn't do a better portrayal of homosexuality at that time. It's just weird to me.
I mean, it's a huge miss. And I mean, its relationship to the AIDS crisis, which is obviously raging in the 80s, there is so much unfortunate, awful drama embedded in that, like just the way that the government and straight people were basically, oh, this is just a disease for gay people, and we're not gay, and gay people are sinners, so actually it's God punishing them, so actually we're not going to try to help them or do any research into this because it doesn't affect us. And the amount of fear and sadness in the gay community of losing people, or at the start, the confusion of what the fuck is happening and who's safe and
they
who's
had no
not safe.
idea how it was being transmitted either.
Yeah.
For a time.
But then again, the movie ends in 85.
Right.
So, and like I said, he doesn't tell the band till 89, and then he dies in 91. So what story are you telling? That's its own story, really.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
He says in the movie, in that meeting with Mike Myers, he says, like, Mike Myers is trying to convince him that, like, just play the hits kind of thing. Do the formula works. And he says, poetry is for the listener, not everything's meant to be explained. And then I just thought that this movie actually goes against that.
Right.
Like, this movie is just like, oh, do you want to see how We Will Rock You was written?
Yeah.
It was just like, here, this guy said stomp, stomp, clap. Like, they explain everything in the most banal, boring, didactic way. And by the way, Rami said, he was interviewed in Vanity Fair after the movie came out. He said, the fact of the matter, this is a direct quote, the fact of the matter that he would freely admit was that one of Freddie Mercury's hobbies was sex. He was very promiscuous. He used to throw these elegant, gorgeous dinner parties for his friends, not a bunch of strangers as portrayed in the film. He didn't grow up Christian, but he would throw Christmas parties and have gifts for everyone. He loved entertaining and was so generous. I mean, you could portray every aspect of his life. The fact of the matter is, we had 2 hours, and the goal of this movie was to celebrate the man. If you wallow in certain illicit aspects of his life, you really lose out on the glory of who this authentic, defiant, revolutionary human being was and is. I mean, that's a lot of cope there from Rami Malek. Like, I understand the problem of you have an entire life in front of you, and not just the entire life of one character. You have Mary and the band and Brian May and the managers and all this stuff. And yes, you do only have 2 hours, but the idea that, like, tossing us like, well, we couldn't show everything. Well, you still chose to show something, and what you chose was for kids. This is basically you tried to turn it into a kids movie, a PG-13 movie, when you yourself are admitting Freddie was promiscuous.
Yes.
And he partied. And this movie is about rock and roll, but what's the other 2 words in that phrase? Sex and drugs. And you didn't show any of it, and this is a movie that needs that. Otherwise, it is just like I'm listening to songs that I already know, and you're drafting off that to the tune of fucking almost $1 billion. So good for you, but it's so cynical. It's so cynical. And I think that I didn't see this in theaters. I saw it like when it came out on streaming, and I was probably, turned it on Saturday morning, hungover. It's 2018, 2019. And I had heard only bad things about it, and I watched it. I was like, that's not a great movie, but it was perfectly pleasant. I think Rachel, like you, I was just responding to hearing the songs that I loved. I did the reverse of what this podcast is supposed to do. I hate this movie now so much more because I see what it actually might have been.
Right.
Yeah. And it really frustrates me that what they chose to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So JD, what's your ruling? Judging by the fact that you texted me and or on your other podcast, No Dunks, talked about how little you wanted to watch this movie again and how it was going to ruin your weekend that you had to rewatch it.
Yeah. I was very much dreading this one because I really didn't like it the first time, and I have to say there are moments, little snippets that I did enjoy, like more than I remembered. Like I thought, Rami is good in this, and everybody's good in this, and they do a good job of recreating stuff. And like I said, I like historical dramas. I like biopics just for the simple fact of being in a different time and just sort of remembering what it's like. It's a tedious slog. It's a paint by numbers life story, I guess. And it, as you say, Matt, it covers too much time, maybe. The weird graphics when they're going to different places, like...
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's so...
That was like a musical, too, to be honest.
Kind of, but also out of place and just like, where... It's like, oh, let's dust these off. And that's what you do in a musical documentary or a musical biopic, You show the towns that they were playing in. And it's just like, okay, all right.
So you're saying this was a college project?
Yeah. How dare you?
Well, sounds like we're not big fans.
Not big
except
fans
for Rachel,
of this
who
one.
loved it.
I didn't. You know I have.
All right, so Bohemian Rhapsody. Unfortunately, it's bad, and it's even worse knowing how amazing and interesting a character Freddie Mercury is, and then just watching it sort of be neutered. By the way, you said you had 2 hours. Rami Malek, more like 2:15. Okay, so this is feeling a little long. And I am just like you, JD. I love biopics and I love music biopics, but and music biopics, everyone kind of makes fun of them in the same way. Basically, Walk Hard, the Apatow movie,
right?
It kind of skewers every musical biopic.
Yeah.
We know the beats. They have a rhythm to them. Mm-hmm. They are kind of cliche.
Yeah.
I still think they're fun.
Sure.
This one really, really bothers me. I really, really do not like it, and I'm sorry, but I cannot recommend it. I recommend putting on Queen because that's all you're getting from it, really.
Or just hop on YouTube and watch the performance, the Live Aid. It is, it's better than you remember, honestly.
It's pretty fucking cool. Yeah. Oh, and they needed to show us in his first performance with Queen before they're Queen in the movie, and he struggles with the microphone stand, so he pulls out the top, like
right,
how he walks around with just the top of the microphone stand in his hand in his performances, and especially at Live Aid. They're like, that's
why.
You for explaining where that came from. By the way, now JD, you said you were in a band. Is that a good way, if you have 2 new members in your band, is a good way to start your performance to go, yeah, well, we got a couple new people here, I guess. The bass player, I forget what his name is, and Freddie Balls. It's like he's like looking at a cue card. He's like, Balsaro? Is that right?
Yeah.
Could that be right? As you're like twiddling, and everyone's like, boo! Like, yeah, you did it bad, man. Like, break into song or something.
Yeah.
No one needs to know. Anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not a good way to start. An auspicious start. No, auspicious is good, right? I can't remember.
Inauspicious.
Inauspicious, yes. And then there was the Doors. Remember Jim Morrison with his back to the crowd because he was so shy and scared? Yeah. Yeah, that was better than the way Queen started.
Doors as a musical biopic better than Bohemian Rhapsody.
So
I would
good.
say, yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing, because this is a new hill that I'm dying on, and I need to check with you, JD, because you know more about film stocks and cameras and stuff.
Do I?
This movie's taking place from 70 to 85, so you bother to have the right kind of cars and the right set and the right costumes and the right haircuts. Why does it look like 2025 though? Like, it's so bright and glossy, like the actual,
Right.
cinematography.
Yeah.
Like, why can't they just shitify it up a bit? Why can't they?
See, you always say this. I don't know.
But come on, man! It looks like 2025. Even it looks, and it makes the costumes and the hair look more out of place.
Okay, can I tell you that when I was walking around in 1985 when this movie takes place, or the end of it, anyways, it looked like 2025. Like when you look around, it's how it looks.
So you tell me when the movies were in black and white, life wasn't in black and white?
You think I want Saving Private Ryan?
Pleasantville, then. Explain Pleasantville. That was the year that everything turned to color in the world.
Yeah. In Saving Private Ryan, when they're storming the beaches, you think I want to see like a the grainy stock of
okay, come on. I mean, yes, you could make fun of what I'm saying for sure, but maybe you're right. I really don't know much about the cinematography, but to me it just looks out of place. And you're right, I don't need it to be shot on film for sure. Mm-hmm. And I just make it look different than the current year, because whether you're right, I mean you are right that the world didn't look grainy in 1976, but we need to have something in our heads that makes it look like this isn't modern day. Right. I don't know what's so bad about that.
Their styles and haircuts. And
look,
furniture.
If they did this Queen biopic in 1985 or 86, it would look different.
Yeah.
Than if it was filmed in 1970.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know that it would be a bad thing. I just think it looks like shit. So one more thing you've done wrong. The least of your crimes, Bryan Singer.
Yeah. The least of your crimes.
All right. Any final Bohemian thoughts before we go?
It's
favorite Queen song. Why don't we sign off with that?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Favorite.
Jeez.
I have a controversial take on this one. My favorite Queen music is the soundtrack to Flash Gordon.
Oh my God.
We own that movie because of this man.
I fucking love it. I love it so much. I was
the movie
so
and the soundtrack?
Yes. I was so mad. My dad took me to see that, me and my brother to see it on a Friday night. The Friday night it came out, it was like a 9 p.m. showing. We were sitting in the back, like near the back, because that was the smoking section. My dad was smoking. And I was so mad because every time they went Flash, like the whole audience went, I was like, guys, you're ruining this for me. But
it's nice. It's nice to see that your personality was set even back then.
Yeah, exactly. I was like so anal about it.
Genetics.
But it was actually awesome because everybody was just so into it. It was so campy and stuff.
Do you also go to performances of Rocky Horror and scream at people throwing rice? You're ruining it for me!
Sit down! Why do you keep talking? Yeah.
Tim Curry sings this song, not you!
Killer Queen is probably my favorite Queen song.
Yeah, and that's another funny thing is Killer Queen is on the album before A Night at the Opera. Like they were solidified as rock stars already, and they make it kind of seem like, well, okay, you really got to prove yourself here on the next album.
It's so stupid.
Rachel, favorite Queen song?
Probably Bo Rap.
Bohemian
Make
Rhapsody.
that stick.
You're not making it stick.
Oh, Bo Rap. I don't like that.
Maybe. I mean, there's so many good songs.
You gotta pick one. That's the exercise.
I'm gonna choose Bo Rap then, because it kind of like in the 90s with Wayne's World. That's when I probably looked a little deeper into their catalog, because you're a little older than me. So
okay, yeah.
I'll go with. So I'll probably go with "Don't Stop Me Now."
That's a great
so
one.
good.
Because that was the first one that I'd already heard Bohemian, We Will Rock You, Bites the Dust, We Are the Champions, and that was the first one. A little further down on the greatest hits. Yeah. It's like really stolen valor when you're talking about digging deep in the crates of a greatest hits album.
Right.
But that was one where I was like, what? A song that starts like so slow like that, and then goes into like the acapella "Don't Stop Me Now," and then just boom, like speeding through the sky like a Tiger? Defying the laws of gravity?
Yes.
Yeah, that one really hit me. And that's when I kind of was like, oh, I actually kind of get Queen now. That and Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy. I was like, these are little, like, theater kid, campy, little, funny, fun songs.
Yep.
And that's kind of what made me appreciate them. So, yeah, I'll go with that one. Well, why don't you tell us your favorite Queen song, and also tell us if you like this movie. And if you did...
No judgment. No judgment.
You are an Oscar voter in 2019.
Yeah, probably.
We didn't even talk about the famous clip of the horrible editing. You've seen that, right? In the scene when they meet John Reed, Littlefinger.
No.
At the outdoor cafe. Go back and watch it. There's like an insane amount of cuts. Oh. It's like every line of that. It's like cut.
Oh,
like just around the table.
Are they cutting something out? Like, is it?
I have no idea what they're doing, but it looks insane. So go look that up. Go tell us your favorite Queen song. Go tell us if you like this movie. Check us out, patreon.com/isthisgood, and email us isthisgoodpod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks in advance for leaving a 5-star review. For Rachel and JD, I'm Matt Austin, thanking you for joining the Is This Bad Movie Club. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bo Rap, period.